All right, so welcome to our side event session, delivering impact for local communities and smallholders through high integrity markets. My name is Sangeeta Davar, and I am leading the government affairs in Bear India group, and I'm moderating this session. 2023, we have seen an increased scrutiny of voluntary carbon markets, and it has highlighted the need for robust, high-quality carbon projects. But let's face it, achieving excellence requires more than inspiration, we all know. It demands hard work, attention to detail, and a willingness to tackle the unglamorous tasks. So amidst all this uncertainty, the Good Rice Alliance initiative stands tall. It is built on key aspects of unwavering quality, integrity, and scalability. At the Good Rice Alliance, we are doubling down on the fundamentals of total quality management through implementing robust regenerative rice production system. All of us know rice cultivation is essential for food security. However, at the same time, it significantly contributes to more than 11% of the global food system emissions. So in India, this challenge is still more magnified because we know that the rice production is reaching up to 138 million tons in 23-24. And we are the second largest emitter of methane emissions, India alone, right? So additionally, this is a highly water intensive farming and consumes over 30% of the world's fresh water. So at the Good Rice Alliance, we have built up very arduous and efficient quality system, step by step, in the last 3 years with a lot of patience and perseverance, delivering high quality carbon credits. We believe that quality is not easy. High quality is still more difficult, and delivering it is difficult too. So as a fortunate coincidence, it's a deliberate, evolving process involving intense and persistent efforts that passes every aspect of our work. And this is enhanced and embraced by all the stakeholders we work with. It becomes a culture in this whole ecosystem we are creating. The understanding of quality management is vital for both our program teams and the farmers we are working with to transition to a sustainable, non-flooded rice production system. So as this mindset takes root, and with the continuous improvement, this becomes not just possible, but just a natural outcome. So allow me for the next 60 minutes where we have a chance to have engagement with the various experts we have on the dais and listen together this how they are contributing to building a top-notch quality agriculture carbon project from the scratch. So we will have with us in this conversation Simon Wibush. Simon is the president and senior Bayer representative of South Asia and also the CEO of Bayer Crop Sciences. Simon is joining online today. We have with us Suhas Joshi. Suhas is the India Carbon Initiative lead of the Bayer Group and also the head of the Good Rice Alliance. We have Chandrasekhar Sinha, a very eminent person for carbon. He's the global lead for carbon markets in World Bank. We have Dr. Salimat. He's the professor of soil science, University of Agriculture and Horticulture Sciences, Shivamoga, Karnataka. And then we have Manu Hari. Manu is the general manager, Environmental Energy and Power Solution Group of Mitsubishi Corporation, India. We have Nagana Gowda, the chief agronomist of the Good Rice Alliance. So with this, I think we start this dialogue, and let's start with a brief presentation from the Alliance implementation lead, Suhas Joshi, followed by Nagana.
I believe I am audible, and thank you very much, Sangeeta, for the introductions. Gentlemen, another 10 minutes, I will take you through what we do and how we do, and entire focus remains to be how to build a top quality agricultural carbon project, because claiming quality is easy, delivering quality is not. It's very difficult. I represent, or I head the Good Rice Alliance, This is a joint initiative of Bayer, Mitsubishi Corporation, Shell, and Gen Zero. And we are here for a long haul. We are building the project for a long haul, establishing robust quality management systems for agricultural carbon projects. So everything is good, thank you. Rice is not just a great demethanization opportunity. Rice is a source of livelihood for millions of smallholder farmers. Their lives, their families' income depends on rice cultivation. And therefore, such projects must be handled very carefully and responsibly. Any less than professional handling of such project can result into reduction in yield, reduction in profitability, productivity, and maybe increase in cost of cultivation that could negatively impact the smallholder farmers and their families for a number of years. So this is not for amateurs. It must be handled very responsibly. Very briefly, most of you would know what exactly rice demethanization is, but just a quick half-a-minute explanation. Flooded rice is a major source of methane due to inorganic decomposition of the matter in the soil, and reduction in flooding can lead to reduction in methane emissions. Therefore, we promote two cultivation practices, that is AWD, alternate wetting and drying, and DSR. All the details I'm sure you already know. How are we structured? We work with our implementation partners, and these partners very carefully selected in order to ensure that they meet our value system requirements. They are aligned with our operating value systems, and they share our passion for the farmers. They are willing to walk with us, or rather willing to run with us, and bring in the rigor in the process that we expect in this kind of agricultural project. With the similar selection criteria, these partners select the field officers, they hire the field officers. Each field officer is responsible for around 100 to 200 hectares of rice cultivation, of enrollment. And their job, their accountability is towards the farmers. They make at least 10 to 15 field visits in a season, at least 3 to 4 visits, physical visits per plot per season, in order to support the farmer, handhold the farmers, and give them the various recommendations to ensure their crop production is good. At the same time, they are always available over phones, over WhatsApp to all the farmers. Farmer first. The same field officers collect around 120 data points for each plot from the beginning of the crop till the end of the crop in order to comprehensively profile each plot, not only from methane emissions point of view, that is irrigation management, water management, also from nitrous oxide emissions point of view, water use point of view, labor use, cost of cultivation, carbon dioxide emissions through use of machines, comprehensive profiling of each plot. Do we use remote sensing? Yes, we do, but we are not fully dependent on remote sensing, and we believe the currently available remote sensing solutions for such kind of project have very limited ground truthing. Our understanding is hardly 1,000, 2,000 hectares have been used to ground truth various remote sensing solutions, and therefore currently we feel they are inadequate to handle our requirements. We as a project have more than 45,000 hectares of complete irrigation data, very intensely collected through our manual MRV. And this data we are currently using to validate the remote sensing applications. If we find that accuracy is good, we will increase our dependence on remote sensing. But for now, neither remote sensing can help us monitor fertilizer application, pesticide application, labor use, machine use, and most importantly, supporting the farmers. So the title goes, human to human connection for now, for at least next 5 to 6 years, is irreplaceable in good quality agricultural carbon projects. Just quickly, where we started in 2021. Today, in 2023, we covered around 45,000 hectares. This year, we are adding around another 10,000 hectares. So total, we would be covering 55,000 hectares this year. Very slow, careful scale up. Every hectare we include has to be fully integrated into the system. These scientific assessments, there are around 6 agroecological zones in the country from the rice production point of view, and we are covering 5 of them, important agroecological zones, with number of variations and stratification of rice cultivation practices. We are setting up the chamber measurement plots here, the chamber measurements, the setup here, and all the 5 AEZs and number of replications put together, our measurement system would today represent more than 90% of the irrigation rice cultivation practices in the country. When we say quality management system, it is total quality management, and our inspiration of total quality management comes from total stakeholder satisfaction. That's the base. And which are the stakeholders we consider here? Most important is the farmer, second is our credit off-taker or buyer, and the third is our investors, necessarily in the order of priority. Farmer is our topmost priority, and therefore intense training programs and hand-holding support is provided to each farmer in order to help him successfully transition from the prevalent cultivation practice of flooded rice, to either AWD or DSR. His success is the topmost priority. Stakeholder consultations. We don't do them just as a tick mark, which is formally required to be done. We do that in spirit, not just in letter. All our farmers, maybe some of them may not be able to participate, but the majority of them, we provide them the platform for two-way interaction, very open interaction, feedback session. Through last year, more than 200 stakeholder consultations we completed across the country, length and breadth of the entire nation. Operational excellence, this is the key of our project. This is the strength of our project. Complete adherence to total quality management principles in all the facets of the project. And that would standard operating procedures, developed in consultation with the field teams. These are not something we sit in office and develop. These are carefully deliberate, number of deliberations, brainstormings, the SOPs which actually work on the ground. Numbers of checks and balances, internal audits, proficiency of field personnel, capacity building, full focus on their training, agronomy training, as well as MRV trainings. 120 data points, cross-validated, reviewed, checked, and internal quality assurance. In agriculture, the scientific measurements are prone to uncertainties because there are many different conditions in the field. There could be intra-field uncertainties, there could be inter-field uncertainties. We are taking step-by-step approach to reduce these uncertainties to best possible manner and thereby improving the quality of the project. So currently we have till 23 end, 45,000 hectares, 11 states, more than 125 tons of CO2 equivalent emission reductions, significant water saving, and improvement or reduction in cost of cultivation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suhas. Maybe quick 5 to 7 minutes on the agronomy part of this project from Nagana.
Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is Naganagoda. So, working with TGRA project as an agronomy expert. Apart from this, I also have one organization called Eco-Agripreneurs, wherein we are implementing rice carbon farming project in Karnataka covering 16,000 acres. Uh, so, based on my experience, though I am an agronomist, I have been working on sustainable agriculture since 23 years, worked on different crops. So, I was trained by FAO on integrated pest management and farmer field schools and practicing on several crops since 2003. I have been working on paddy since 2005. So, my experience with paddy is more than 22 years covering various aspects. This is my brief background. So in this project, what we are doing currently? So currently, we are working with thousands of smallholder farmers across India. So and we are helping them to transition from their conventional paddy growing to the sustainable practice. So the here basic thing is without yield compromise. This is our work. And how we are working? Yes, there is a project called TGRA. We work with several implementing partners across India. So implementing partners will have field officers. They will in turn, work closely with the farmers. After this, there will be backend and there will be information flow from forward and backward ways. So the main objectives of our project is to enable the farmers from their regular paddy growing system to a new system. So this is mainly to reduce GHG footprint by paddy. The second thing is once the farmers are adopting the new practice, we need to ensure that they continue it for a long term. Though sustaining the process at the field level is very important. And we are building capacities of all the people involved. So that means partners, field officers and farmers. So this is required for our long haul. So we are also here to deliver top quality emission reductions from paddy fields. So far the project has been quite successful. So the three important reasons for the success of the project, the first one is team. Let me talk something about the team. So first thing is we choose right people, right partners who are willing to work with local communities with a purpose. Then we build their capacities. It is not only on the classroom sessions. We do conduct a lot of trainings in the field as well throughout the cropping season. This is very, very important. The topics that we cover will never be limited to only carbon farming. It is on the comprehensive crop management. We also educate our field team on our values. The 4 working principles that we follow in all our working environment are transparency, honesty, self-leadership and teamwork. So because of capacity building and our value system, the field team is committed to such an extent that they never compromise with their field visits, data collection part, reporting part. The second thing that is contributing to the success of our project is farmers. So from the farmer's perspective, the important thing is trust building. How do we build trust of our farmers? We cannot go to a village and ask farmers to enroll under our project. So we do series of activities to build the trust of our farmers. First of it is having farmer meetings. Many of our meetings are held during night hours because farmers are available in the evening hours. Then we conduct one-on-one visits, several capacity building events. We do help farmers in solving their problems through WhatsApp groups. That is how we are building trust. As I said, we do train them on agronomy aspects as well as rice carbon farming aspects. In some cases, we stretched ourselves beyond paddy crop when there is a demand from our farmers. That is how we are building the trust. And for the farmers, they need to believe us. How do they do it, right? So for that, we need to ensure transparency at all levels. So we share the project details with them through local stakeholder consultation workshops, night meetings in a transparent way. The incentives that they get, the kind of data that we collect, and all those things are revealed to the farmers before enrollment. So we do not ask farmers for, agreement signature in the beginning. They'll undergo the process at the end of the season. So I can say, at the flag end of the season, we go for digital agreement signature from the farmers. So even at that stage, if the farmer is having any kind of doubt, he might not enter into an agreement, right? So that is how we are creating a transparency at all the levels. So third and most important thing for the success of our project is MRV. Yes, everybody talks about MRV. So Hasji has already talked about MRV that we are following. Really, we are following a robust system of MRV. So that includes we capture several data points very systematically, sincerely. See, here I am talking about sincerely because the field team working is there with a purpose. So they do whatever they do at field level with utmost sincerity. So we are also using digital tools for the data collection. So these digital tools are helping our field team in easing out their work. For example, the digital tools are equipped in such a way that they will have drop downs, keywords such as then comes reports which are required at the field level. So by these things, the work at the field level is getting done by our field officers in a quick time. So for all the processes at field level, be it field, farmer meeting, stakeholder consultation workshops, capacity building events, we have SOPs. But most of the times in a country like India, where the heterogeneity is too high, one single SOP will not work. So we have customized our SOPs depending on the geography. And we are doing these changes in the SOPs based on the locality, need of the farmers. Just let me tell you one example. So typically most of the big meetings are held in the first half of the day, right? But so if there is an electricity in the village, farmers would not participate. For such meetings, we need expert. So the time of expert, the availability of farmers, local arrangements, by keeping all these things, we change the timing. So SOPs are flexible in this. Yes. For the success, audit is also an important part of MRV. So why we are doing audit? First thing is to understand the knowledge level of field team and farmers. Second thing is how the practices are being done by the farmers at field level. So based on these audit observations, we are going for mid-season corrections. We are in the field for the past few seasons. In the earlier seasons, we were getting few audit observations. Recently, we completed one audit. There were hardly 2-3 points from the audit team. That means to say, the project implementation at the field level has improved significantly. The field team is highly equipped to take it forward. So we have a system to share the learnings among farmers. There are village level WhatsApp groups, social media networks, wherein farmers voluntarily share their good points to the fellow farmer. Similarly, we have a mechanism to share the important things, good practices with all the implementing partners across India. So this is really enriching the project. Yes, the outcomes that we are witnessing are really enormous. So first outcome I would like to stress is on the farmers' trust. Yes, more than 90% farmers are retained in the project and they are continuing. Farmers are voluntarily referring to the fellow farmers and neighboring village farmers. That itself indicates they have got trust on the project. The partners' relationship with the local communities, it is strengthened because of the project. They are in a position to take it to the next level. The third important thing is practical experience. All our farmers, the field team has experienced the practical learning of reduced water usage, reduced input usage, reduced pest and diseases in the field. So the practical experience is there at all levels. So many a times in the carbon farming projects, we only talk about carbon, right? But there are multiple benefits when we work with paddy farmer. Just to tell you some of the benefits, so in case of water saving methodologies like AWD and DSR, there will be increased fertilizer usage. So because of that, the plant strength will be good, tiller strength will be good, so it will not be susceptible for lodging. So whenever there is a hailstorm or high winds, the plant will withstand that kind of a condition. So the harvest time required in that condition will be less than a conventional paddy. So farmers are saving about 10% of their cost on combined harvesting machines. So another thing is, when I said there is reduced incidence of a disease and pest, tree rot and BPH, our farmers are using less chemicals. So we are impacting the ecology in other ways as well. So that is, we are less polluting the ecosystem. We are not leaving many residues in the food that we eat, and we are in a position to feed our cattle and milch animals with the healthy fodder. So by this, I would like to conclude by saying the project here is here for a long haul. So the existing robust quality systems are in such a way that definitely the project is going to play a major role in the agricultural carbon space. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nagana. And now for a special address by TGRA lead partner Bayer, may I invite Simon. Simon is already with us online. Simon, for your remarks.
All right. I hope you can hear me. Audio works?
Yes, we can hear you,
Okay,
Simon.
fantastic. Right, thank you. Yes, Eqiuty, dear panel, obviously, thank you also to the Good Rise Alliance members, as well as all delegates to the Asia Climate Summit. Sorry not to be there in person today, but I'm thankful that you're giving me a little bit of your time. You know, we at Bayer believe that regenerative agriculture is a powerful solution to counter the imminent threats to a resilient and sustainable food supply. Threats that are coming from climate change and biodiversity loss. You know, agriculture, particularly crop cultivation, accounts for up to 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, agriculture is also one of the sectors that is most threatened by climate change. I'm sure you're fully aware. The impacts are already being seen in most farming regions of the world, but especially here for us in Asia, where a growing and more prosperous population is needing more access to nutritious food. Among others, climate-related threats include extreme weather conditions that increase crop yield volatility, water scarcity, or increased crop temperature stress, and shifts in traditional growing patterns. Now that means this is a convoluted situation. And again, when you look at the situation that we're looking at in India, with 140 million farmers on small plots, it gives you a sense of how much work it is. And I think it was nicely presented already before. Fortunately, agriculture itself has the potential to be a powerful solution to the challenges that I just mentioned. Through regenerative agriculture that contributes to reduction, even at times the reversal of greenhouse gas emissions, for example, via carbon sequestration, that is what we're looking for. India, as we all know, is one of the major producers of rice, and with that we contribute significantly to agri-based methane emissions due to the anaerobic decomposition in the traditional flooded paddy fields. Supporting rice farmers holistically to reduce the methane emissions and at the same time promoting climate adaptation in order to sustain their yields is the need of the hour. Climate change will have a major impact on rice and wheat productivity in this country. Encouraging farmers to prepare for the same is crucial for their own livelihood and actually the global food supply. Partnering with like-minded organizations like Shell, Mitsubishi Corporation, and Gen Zero as the Good Rise Alliance helps us to strengthen our efforts and simultaneously enables us to leverage Bayer's capabilities at a larger scale for the betterment of smallholder farming communities. At the Good Rise Alliance, we are aware of Bayer's and our partners' responsibility Therefore, we are committed to maintaining high standards of operational excellence. We emphasize that quality is the cornerstone of our mission, which aims to advance rice cultivation practices. We generate authentic and high-quality greenhouse gas emission reductions, ensuring resilient results throughout the farmer's journey. The phrase, "quality is a journey, not an accident," aptly encapsulates this philosophy. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hand over back to you, Sangeeta, for the panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you. And let us move to our great experts on the dais today. So may I come to Dr. Chandra first? Dr. Chandra, let's hear from you on the lot of initiatives World Bank is taking in establishing a low methane rice platform and also kind of addressing the core topic of integrity in voluntary carbon.
Thank you, Sangeeta ji, and thanks for the invitation to be on the panel. Our effort at the World Bank linked to reducing methane emission from rice cultivation, I think, recognizes the points that earlier panelists have spoken about. In particular, Simon talked about the impact of agriculture on climate change and the impact of climate change on agriculture, and the fact that in the agriculture sector, particularly through regenerative agricultural practices, you have mitigation with resilience co-benefit or resilience with mitigation co-benefit. It could be either way. And over the last decade or so, we've focused primarily on looking at mitigation opportunities in the energy sector. And broadly, the understanding is that we now know how to deal with the energy sector and how we could design programs on emission reductions in the energy sector. There are still challenges, not to say that there are no challenges. We are looking at energy access as our key challenge in the energy sector, but in the agriculture sector, regenerative agriculture is going to be the next challenge in terms of the years to come. The World Bank typically has about $5 to $7 billion of lending every year, new commitment every year on agriculture. Much of it is on regenerative agriculture. Now, in order to scale the interventions in the agriculture sector in a transparent, trackable, monitorable, verifiable way, we need to build platforms or at least visualize the need for a platform right from the beginning. Most intervention programs in the agriculture sector rely on farmer onboarding platforms. Most of them rely on a payment stack for providing input support or subsidy support or any kind of a support that is needed. What is additionally needed in the case of mitigation activity is to integrate a carbon management platform looking at many of the aspects that have been described by Suhasji and by Nagana. But it needs to be done in a way that allows that platform to get linked to the registry systems, to the transaction platforms, and linked back through the payment system so that payments are transferred directly back to the farmers as well. Because it will be extremely important to have transparent benefit sharing with the farmer partners that are signing off for behavioral change or shifting their cultivation practice, and that it must be fair and transparent as to what the support that is being provided, including I saw in Swasithji's presentation, ensuring that the farmers are de-risked for any changes in terms of ensuring that productivity levels are maintained, and only then can you have the kind of retention of 90% that Nagana was talking about, right? So I think it is critical to think in terms of end-to-end digital system that are linked to each other and then complete the overall cycle of payments going back to the participating farmers through the system that was used to onboard them. The value proposition from the way we are looking at it is in the carbon management platform. That the carbon management platform must have the ability to define the methodology, currently the gold standard one in my mind, then have a clear monitoring, reporting, verification of the kind that you've been talking about, 120 data fields in every plot, which is consistent with sampling approaches and so on, and must provide access to validators to ensure project design is validated well. Validators have a regulatory role in the carbon cycle, and thereafter, once practice change has occurred, must provide similar access to verifiers to ensure that all of the information has the kind of quality assurance process that you are putting into the design process. And finally, must also have the ability to provide access to regulators to ensure that procedures are being followed. Now, those regulators in the voluntary market are certainly the program standards, gold standard, for instance, if you use their methodology, but may also be host countries. More and more host countries are requiring, even for voluntary type activities, to have the ability to provide no objection or acknowledgement, as we call it, if they're not providing authorization for corresponding adjustment. And these systems must be linked to databases or registries so that the issuance from the program manager, the program standard manager, gold standard, for instance, flows into the overall system, and based on the issuances, payments go back to farmers in addition to those who manage platforms. So the critical element of this is the specification of the platform itself, and a very important feature which we will require in our engagement would be an open access to the platform, that it cannot be a black box, it cannot be a platform that is available only to a select few partners, or select few intermediaries, or select few farmer producer organizations, whatever it may be. That the idea of a multilateral institution is to create overall approaches which allow the scale up of regenerative agricultural practices or methane reduction in this instance. So I think that element needs to be kept in mind, number one. Number two, that the business model of the platform must be very transparent. So for instance, we look for ways by which the participant in the process, the aggregator, provides for, say, access fees to the platform and builds in provisions for automatic transfer of at least 50%. As an example, in projects that we are looking at, 50% of the payment for carbon goes straight to the farmer. Additional 20-30% in-kind contribution, and then certain amount for management of the platform. So I'm just giving you a sense of the way a multilateral would look to the approach that we would follow in order to scale up intervention for regenerative practices. I'm happy to answer questions, but...
Great. I think this is a very good insight, and especially you bring up this topic about how digital platform can have an open access, a lot of funding support which World Bank is doing, and also mainly, the point on how we are building the farmer that he comes back and adopts. So most of the agriculture, we're looking now agriculture besides the strategy as a mitigation strategy. So on the farmer's point, let me go back to Dr. Salimat. So Dr. Salimat, since you come from a comment SAU, so with your experience in UHS Karnataka, you have been closely observing this project and also interacting with the project farmers. So how do you think the project's philosophy of systematic and comprehensive farmer support has been translating down.
Thank you, madam. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I am associated with this project since 2 years, and I have been participating in the stakeholders meetings and workshops, and also some of the review meetings. For any project to be successful, I think it needs a very passionate and committed staff to work in the field. That's the basic requirement. So during my field visits, I saw the field staff working very meticulously, taking the records, educating the farmers to build the trust. Trust is very important, first of all, because to transfer the technology or to enable the farmers to adopt this such a new technology, the farmers need to have a trust. So it's not just alternate wetting and drying these people were trying to demonstrate. In fact, it is a holistic approach of delivering all the services that farmers require, starting from water management to pest and disease, nutrient management, and any other problems that are faced during the growing season. So once the trust is built upon, definitely it creates a platform for the farmers to share their problems or experiences with the ground staff, the field staff, and also the agricultural experts who are in the office. They also visit regularly. So once that confidence is there and the technology is transferred, the farmers get that confidence, yes, we can shift to the technology of alternate wetting and drying, and definitely we can get better yields. So thereby, once the confidence is built and the farmers adopts the technology, he finds some change. That's decrease in the, pesticide usage or even fertilizer usage, the better crop growth, and ultimately better yields at a very low input cost. That's what I have discussed with the farmers. What is that they could see in this project is, with the reduced water usage and fertilizer usage, they are able to get a better returns, good yields without affecting any, compromising the yield. So they are happy. And then once the farmer is convinced, he will not stop there. It has to scale up. In order to have a stabilized ecosystem, the adoption has to be in the larger scale. So the farmer, once he is convinced, he has been able to take the technology to his relatives and also good friends. He will try to communicate to them and convince them during the evening hours or through WhatsApp, whatever crop good practices he has adopted, he will show them. So this is how scaling up occurs, and then it leads to a adoption in a larger scale, and then stabilization of the ecosystem occurs. That's what I have seen in this program.
Wonderful, Dr. Salimat. I'll ask from Manu about the perspective from an investor's point of view. So in terms of what do you feel are the major critical factors for an agriculture carbon project besides the high quality carbon credits, which anyway are mandatory? What do you think are other critical factors for success of such agriculture carbon?
Thank you so much. And I think it is an important question. So for me, I think first and foremost, it is governance. So governance provide a framework for accountability, transparency, and effective management. Second, I also feel that governance provide an accurate MRV to meet all the legal requirement. So governance is important. Secondly, the partnership and expertise is also a key factor what investors also look for. Partnership, I meant to say that for a project, it is key are project developer and the local NGOs. So they must have the technical and the operational capabilities to implement the program. Because of nowadays we see that carbon is a complex process, and thus both the skills are required. So we feel that yes, the developers as well as implementing NGOs should have the operational and technical capacity. I also feel that we are now approaching the farmers, and they are the smallholder farmers. So trust is very much important. And trust in sense of project developers, implementing NGOs or field officer. We need to understand that yes, we are transitioning from the traditional practice to a new practice. And it's their livelihood. So trust is very much important. And we also see that yes, when we see in the ground, we go for a visit, we see that trust. That is important. Thirdly, I feel, which is also important for the buyer's perspective of carbon credits, is MRV and data. Because MRV is the one which provides the real reduction and accuracy of the project. So this is critical. And in our project, we are using the direct measurement, and it is realistic. Further, it is also being supported by the scientific as well as research institute. This is also important. And last but not least, for investor point of view, scalability also matters. But scalability should not be like that we should compromise on the quality. Quality is also much important. And last, I want to say that yes, investors like us also invest in the pilot project so that we can gain the confidence as well as awareness. So what I feel that yes, quality is important, but all these four factors are also critical, what investors also look while investing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manusan. I think all these scalability discussions we are having in agriculture, we are aware they're highly technical projects. And implementing these projects requires a lot of hand-holding, not only to the farmer, but also establishing a very robust MRV, and at the same time sustaining those practices going forward for several years, because 2-3 years will take settle when get accruing the carbon credits. So very important point that because this is heavily technical, heavily investment intensive. So Nagan, maybe we come back to you on this point in the flow, that how do you ensure that the team delivers as per the rigor of the project? We talked about a lot of rigors which are required, and it's, I think, a very heavy labor job. So how do you ensure this happens on the ground?
Yes. Thank you, Sangeeta. This is a good question. You know, I know both the cases, right? So I work with the project as an agronomist and also at the field level as an implementing partner. Yes, definitely this is a rigorous project. The field teams are developed in such a way that they are there with a purpose, not with, profit motto. That is one thing. And the second important thing is there are 4 big companies like Bayer, Mitsubishi, Shell and Gen Zero. They are driven by a value system, right? The same value system is inculcated at the field level. So the daily activities, as I shared in the presentation as well, so some of our field staff start their work early in the morning. Some of them start at 6 or 7, right? So that is the kind of work culture we have developed. So it is being followed up regularly also at the management level. They never feel that so it is like a too much work, because the system is in place and they are driven by a purpose. The farmer support is also excellent. It is because of one more thing, the partner's credibility with the farmers. So considering all of these things, purpose, value systems that we have developed, the partner's credibility, the support that is being extended by the FOs at the field level, and the results that they are seeing with the farmers. These are all the factors behind, the field guys driving this project at a scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagana. And you bring up this point of how we are making the impact on the overall agricultural ecosystem per se. So Dr. Salimat, maybe I'll have your opinion about this, and how do you see this coming from, also an R&D from a government perspective? What is the impact you see all such regenerative programs in agriculture are going to impact our agriculture?
Yeah, good, madam. To see the impact, I think we need to look at 2 angles. One is short-term, another is the long-term gains. So if I have to describe about the short-term gains, immediate gains that farmers really see in the field are, once this technology is adopted, certainly they express that there are more number of, beneficial insects in the field, especially the dragonflies, then Sarcophila, then spiders. All these beneficial insects population will be more, especially wherever AWD is being adopted, because of the less usage of the pesticides and the fertilizers. Naturally, the natural enemies will be more in that area. That's what even I have seen and farmers also expressed to me. Secondly, the beneficial microorganisms, especially in the soil, which is not visible. When there is good aeration in the soil, naturally the fertilizer efficiency gets increased. So once the fertilizer efficiency is increased, maybe around 20% decrease in the fertilizer application occurs, especially with respect to nitrogen. So the pest load comes down, nitrogen efficiency increases, and ultimately there is a growth of good beneficial microorganisms which take care of the other diseases. So that is one thing. And another thing what I saw is the soil organic carbon as such doesn't increase in a 1 or 2 years. In fact, it is the reduction of the methane emission. With that, the farmers also, by cutting down the expenditure on the pesticides, fertilizers, naturally they use less of these inputs and give a space for the beneficial microbes and the insects to dominate in the ecosystem. That is the most important factor. And finally, what is important is, it is not few people adopting the technology. These things can happen only when in the village, if you take, many farmers adopt them. So they have been able to convince other farmers to adopt the technology and ensure that pesticide consumption is reduced. So naturally, the ecosystem gets stabilized over a period of time. That's what we have seen.
Thank you, Dr. Talimat. And we also come to a point where there is a lot of climatic impacts, definitely with all the carbon products. We are trying to mitigate harm, anyway we are doing several different. So with COP29 now around the corner, Dr. Kundra, and a lot of discussions around the NDCs. And now we are definitely very, very keenly looking at also how discussions around the agriculture as a climate solution are coming up. So if you can, share some insights, because you have been really actively involved in all these discussions. So agriculture as well as non-agriculture sector, but because since our interest is mainly agriculture.
As the Paris Agreement, as you know, is based on NDCs, and NDCs are nationally determined contributions. So the way that agriculture is treated within the nationally determined contribution is how the impact or the role of agriculture in the longer term trajectory on net zero will get defined. So very clearly, it is going to be, in the case of India, dependent on how agriculture is included in the NDC, and for instance, if you're looking at the carbon markets, how is the agricultural sector captured within the Indian carbon market, and which part of the Indian carbon market does it fall under? Obviously, it is unlikely to be covered under the compliance market based on, which is focused on entities covered by the Energy Conservation Act. So clearly there is a possibility of agriculture in the voluntary space or the offset space, right? In the offset space, as you were pointing out earlier, Sangeeta ji, that perhaps there's a need for stakeholders such as yourselves to play certain advocacy roles to ensure that all appropriate practices are included, that it's not just AWD or DSR or that you look at interventions, behavioral change interventions, which cut across the full range depending on local circumstances, depending on the agroeconomic zones that you're putting intervention in. So, you know, the way it would surface to the COP kind of a discussion would be through the NDCs. More broadly, there's clear recognition. I think your slide had an indication that agriculture is 12% of the total emissions. So there's a recognition that this is an important source for emission. There's a even bigger recognition that this contributes to resilience and adaptation, that regenerative practices take you in the right direction, and that you know, there should be priority assigned to agricultural intervention, in particular regenerative agriculture, maintaining soil health, increasing soil organic carbon, moving towards broader set of practices which will take you in that direction.
Points, Dr. Chandra, definitely. And maybe we come back to Suhas again for some of the maybe concluding remarks on the project with a lot of nuances. So, you know, how are you kind of, you know, defining the quality control process this project? Very quickly.
Thank you, Sangeeta, and it was enlightening to listen to all of you. Thank you very much. Sorry, Sangeeta, we do not believe in quality control. We do not wait till the end of the season and check what went wrong or what went right and appoint some auditors to see that. We believe in quality management, and that is total quality management. Any management system, or particularly the quality management system, have typically three components, very broadly. The first is kind of SOPs, standard operating procedures. The second is the tools, so digital tools or any other tools. You have app, you have MRV app, you have remote sensing, and number of things. And the most important component here is the people who are involved in the process. All these three components, if they are managed well from the beginning or in advance, then we are able to manage the quality during the season. Anything not meeting the quality requirements, we can take the corrective actions during the process, not waiting till the end. And when we talk about these three components, SOPs particularly, they need not be very rigid. SOPs are here to help the system, help the people, not to become a bureaucracy in themselves. The tools also need to be living systems. Maybe, I don't know, someone knows about Toyota philosophy. The IT tools we use, infrastructure we use, must be flexible and living, because they are there to help the systems or help the people and not to become a red tape in themselves. And the most important component here is people. All the three components in the background are supported by the culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is the importance of culture. So when we talk about people, their capacities must be built very strongly. If they don't know what to do, if they don't have expertise, they don't have knowledge, they are not going to deliver. At the same time, the positive, purpose-driven culture, because you are not going to monitor all the 400 or 500 people on the ground on a daily basis, morning to evening. That's not possible. You need to give them a purpose, motivation, and a positive working environment, and they will do their job just right. We have seen it, we have experienced it, and therefore, in our project, we have clearly defined 4 principles. Openness, that is transparency. Second is honesty, that is sincerity. Third is self-leadership. You are empowered. And fourth is teamwork. And every element, all these 3 principles, we practice from top to bottom, because we are role models for the field team. And if they see we say something else and do something else, they are not going to follow that. So this is practiced in reality, and therefore the team learns. This culture is nurtured, and gradually everyone starts getting integrated in the system.
Thank you. Openness, transparency, sincerity, teamwork. Definitely for any project success, these are the key pillars. So we are at the end of a very exciting discussion, and again, thank you very much all the panel experts for imparting your wisdom and also giving us more context around how to put up high integrity carbon projects. So with this, please join me in giving a very warm applause to the whole panel. Thank you so much.